Hi, welcome back. So today I've got something very exciting for you. You know what? Have you ever wondered how to design a complete AI SaaS website from scratch in Figma? Well, in this tutorial, I will show you step by step how to design a professional full SaaS landing page that is not only modern, but responsive and ready for real clients. So stick with me to the end of the whole video because you are going to walk away with a full AI SaaS design that you can use right away. So you're welcome back. Right here on our work environment, we have our website content. So this is basically like the project brief for this. So the brief is basically like everything that we are just going to have on the landing page. So this will save us time. Instead of trying to type everything out one by one, we are just going to paste them directly and resize them to fit whatever section we want to place them in. So the first thing we are going to do, let's quickly rename our file to the brand name. So the brand name is Cognify. So I've renamed that Cognify. And one thing to note is that this is the typography that we're going to be using. We're going to use this Grotex font. So the next thing we're going to do now is to quickly set up our color styles before we do anything. So I like setting up my color styles. I'm just going to go over here and go to colors. So the first thing we're going to do, because for this project, we're going to be using like a gradient fill. I'm going to put in the first gradient. So the first gradient, we're going to call it gradient 1. So to make it a gradient, we can't actually just put in one color. So we're just going to click here. So we'll now go over to this place over here. So you see gradient. So you can just click on the gradient now. So we're going to use linear for this particular tutorial. So the first color is E3 ECFB. Let's hit enter to see that. It's like a light blue, so probably that's why it's not very visible. It's a light blue color. So the next one is more like a light red color, which FE, F2, F2. So once we hit enter, so this is it basically. It's not really that visible. It's more like two light colors combined together. So that's going to be our first gradient. So I'm just going to create the style. So for our second gradient, let me show you what I want to do so you get what I want to do. So for the second one, we're going to apply the linear in a different way. I'm just going to go over here and then I want to actually be able to, place this diagonally, which is not possible if I had taken the other route. That's why I drew out like a rectangle first so that I can actually be able to control this, So for this now, for the second gradient, the first color that we're using for the second gradient is E63866. Okay. And then the second color is orange color. The first one is like a violet color, so this second one is like F0C694. All right, I like this, but I want this particular orange color to go to the top here. So I'm just going to swap it like this. So yeah, I've swapped it. So this is what I want. So since we've created this color here now, we can't add it from here. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to select this, then come over here. When I select this, then you see this plus sign here. That's what we're going to use to make it a new star. So we're going to call it gradient. Oh, let me remove caps lock. Gradient 2. So we have created that. So if I select outside now, you see this is gradient 1, this is gradient 2. So I'm just going to, let me just leave it here. So the next thing now that we're going to do is to add the remaining colors that we have. So the next color, we're going to add like a green color. And this green color, the hex code for the green color is 66B06D. So this is what we want. And then I'm just going to keep adding more colors. So the next color, I'm just going to add like a red color. So for the red color, what I have for the red color is 98484. I'm going to click on enter. Not like a solid, but more like a saturated red color. So the next color that we're going to add is like an orange color. No, a yellow color. Let's add yellow instead first. So the yellow color is going to be F2B81B. Oh no, 1B. All right. So this is what we want. And then I'm going to add like outline color just like we always do. So this one is for our strokes. This one we're going to be using for all the strokes. So for this, we normally use E3. I'm going to hit enter there and create style. So the next thing, the next color we're going to, we're going to bring in our text color. So for our text color is going to be 1E1E1E. And we're also going to have like a gray text color. So the gray text is going to be 6666666. So there's another color that we're going to bring. So let's call this lighter gray, like a light gray. I don't know if there's something like that, but more like we are just going to use that. Or let's just name it. So we're going to be using this for like FAQ and blogs. So we're going to use it to create those cards for that one. So we're going to call this F6, F5, F8. So I'm just going to hit enter to make sure that's what I imputed, and I'm going to create that. So now this is all the colors that we're going to be using for this particular project. If we encounter any other color, we will definitely update our color style. So the next thing we are going to do now, since we already know our typography and we've already set up our colors, the next thing we are going to do now is to bring in our desktop frame. So we are going to go over select frame and then come over here. So I've already opened down my desktop drop down. So if you see something like this, just go over here and click this and then move over to desktop and select desktop. So now that you've selected desktop, I'm just going to push this up here and I'm going to change this to landing page. Landing page. All right, so now that we have this, we're going to quickly set up our layout grid. So I'm just going to go over here, click on the layout grid, and then I'm going to move this up here. So we're just going to go over to column. So, we have been designing mobile a lot. So, the standard for mobile is 4 count. And then the standard for desktop is 12 counts. So we're going to use 12 counts for this. And I'm going to leave this particular color. I like the color. And I'm going to change the margin to. So for this particular tutorial, we're going to be using a margin of 120. So most times, anytime I'm designing, I choose between 80 to like 120. I don't let my margins exceed 120. Most times, if I'm designing, you can either see me using 80, 100, or 120 for my desktop landing page or whatever thing I'm designing on desktop. All right, so for the gutter, we're just going to leave the gutter at 20. We're just going to leave the gutter at 20. So I think that's for that. So I'm just going to close this. All right, so now that we've done that, we're just going to, first of all, create our logo. So for the logo, it's a fictional brand. The name of the brand is Cognify. So I'm just going to come over here. Let me bring this down here. Let me bring this over here and push this down. So I just want to arrange everything. I don't want to have anything scattered on my, well, let's leave this at 80. So I'm just going to push this down here. So the next thing is to create the logo. So for this, I'm just going to name this logo. So let me change this to auto. I don't like having line heights, except I really want to use it. But for this, I don't think there's anything necessary, any line height necessary here. So I'm going to change it to the brand name, which is Cognify. So, but for the brand name, we're going to use a different font for the brand name. We're not going to use this Cortex font. We're going to use Orbitron. I think that's the name of the font. Let me search it and see. Yeah, Orbitron. Yeah. So we're going to use Orbitron. I like the feel, gives like this futuristic vibe. So now, I don't want us to think too much about creating a logo or stress you about creating a logo. So we are just going to use an icon in place of our logo mark. So I'm just going to right click. So for this, we're going to be using the huge icons library. So if you don't have it here under your recent plugin, if you do this and you can't actually find it here, the way you can do that is just to click here and come over here and just search the plugin. So for this is huge icons that we're using. So I'm just going to search huge icons. So it's huge icons library that we're going to use. So I'm just going to select this here. So I'm going to go over here under the free. I'm going to search for AI. Let me push this a bit and select this frame so that whatever I'm pasting will just paste directly inside here. So we're going to use this. All right, so it has been added. So I'm just going to drag it here and then I'm going to change this to 40. So it's going to be 40. Then we're going to reduce this to 24, please. All right, so let me quickly close this. So this is what we're going to use for our icon. So I'm going to click enter. So just watch this panel here. Once I click on enter, you see it's selected only the elements inside of the particular frame. So I want to change this to like 2 and then change this to our gradient 2. So this is what I want to do. So now I'm just going to draw this close to this and select both of them and apply auto layout to it. So the distance between them, I'm just going to leave it at 8. I think 8 looks good. So I'm just going to rename this to brand logo, or let's just say company logo. All right. So this is going to be under logo. Let me see 80 around that. So that's the same thing I'm just going to do here. So I'm just going to leave this at 80. So we want to make sure that we are creating our components as we proceed. All right, so I'm going to quickly make this a component so that I can reuse it wherever I want to use it. So I'm going to, since I've created this, the next thing I want to create now is the navbar. So to create the navbar, currently the size of our desktop frame is 1440. Put that at the back of your mind, 1440. So we're now going to create a frame that has the length of 1440. Okay, 1440. And then I'm going to rename this to navbar. So now that I've renamed this to navbar, I like my navbar to have like a height of either 60 or 80. But for this particular, we're going to use 80 instead of 60. So I'm just going to change this to 80. So now we can now go back here and bring in our logo. I'm just going to copy this by hitting Ctrl C and then come back here and select this navbar and paste it. So let's turn on the grids for this. So you know what? Let me I'm just going to turn this off and then go to under our style. So I'm going to click outside and come under styles and create layout grid. So I'm just going to call this desktop grid, and then I'm just going to edit it. So I'm going to change this to 12, and then this is going to be 120 and this is going to be 20. So I'm going to hit enter and then create style. So once I come down here, I will now select this dot here. So you see here, as you can see now, we have desktop grid. So I'm just going to add it. So you see, and this, I'm just going to remove this and then add our desktop grid so we can actually make use of it. So this is it. So instead of trying to recreate it, probably we might need it in the future. Instead of recreating it, we're just going to add it the way we are adding this now. So for this, I'm just going to, align to the middle. And then I'm going to make sure this is following our margin. So this is currently following our margin, which I like. So the next thing we are going to set up now is the nav links. So for the nav links, I'm just going to bring in a text. So now the nav links, we have like some text here. Let's go over to our content. So this is basically all the text that we're going to have for our nav link. So I'm just going to select this Well, let me just select all the text. I'm just going to select everything so I don't come back here again. I'm going to paste it here, although we are going to clean it shortly, but just so that it will just be in a visible area for me to copy them. All right, so the first one is going to be features. I don't think there's a reason for me to be typing it out, so I'm just going to collect this, paste here. I'm going to remove the bullet points, and then once I've done this, I'll make sure that this is 16. I want this to be at 16, and I don't like using bold for things like this, so I might just leave it at medium. I think medium looks perfect. So I'm now going to hold this, drag and select this, and then select both of these and apply auto layout to it. So I'm going to name this nav links. And I'm going to paste it. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like a button. The start free trial is a button. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5. So I'm going to duplicate it into 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So now I want the gap between them to be like 40, please. So that's what I want, 40. And then I'm going to center this properly and align it to the middle. So I'm just going to just type this manually, please. Solution. And then next is pricing. The next is blogs. Oh, there's no X there. And then we now have FAQ. All right, so since we have this, the last one is start free trial. So the next thing we are now going to do now is to create the button. So to create our button, I'm just going to type in the text here. So we're going to name this start free trial. So now I'm going to use the shortcut Shift A to apply auto layout to it. And I'm going to name this CTA, which is like call to action. That's the full meaning of CTA, call to action. So buttons are normally call to action. So they trigger the user to take an action. So for this, we're going to go over here and use our gradient 2 for the fill. And I'm going to add the stroke. This for our stroke, I'm going to use the outline. And then I'm just going to give it like corner radius of, let me select this. Let me add corner radius of 8 and see how that looks. Or let's just increase this to 12 and see how that looks also. I think I prefer 8, so I'm just going to leave it at 8. So for this button, I think I'll just have to remove that outline. I don't think I'll need it there. So now that we've done this, there's one last thing we need to do to the button before it becomes like a button. So there's a particular principle I like to apply when creating my buttons. So there are 2 ways to do it. The first one is that the left and the right side should be twice the size of the up and down, or should be 3 times the size of the top and bottom. So if the top and bottom padding is like 8, then this side should be 16. That's the left and right should be like 16. That's twice of this particular side. So what do I mean by that? So for the top and bottom for this, I'm just going to change this to 12. That's the top and bottom is 12. So since the top and bottom is 12, then the side is going to be twice or 3 times the size of the top and bottom. Times 2, that's 24. Or you can make it 36 if you want to, put it. So it depends on you, but for this, I'm just going to be using 2 times the value of the top and bottom. So, but that's the standard. Max, it should be 3x, except like it's like a button that has to fill the whole, work area or something. But if it's like a button that needs to hug the content like this is like the formula you need to use. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to make this a component. And then I'm just going to copy this, and then finally we're going to select this and paste it inside of here. So this is 120, and we're going to leave it like this. So I'm just going to, so anything I edit here will reflect here, so I don't need to touch here at all. So I want this to be 16. I don't like the fact that it's 18. I like this to be 16. And let me make sure that this is centered properly. So I want this to be semi-bold, not bold. And then we're also going to create like some other button variations. So another type of button that we might have is might have like the outline, the button that has outline. So I'm just going to select this and change this to state. So this is more like the primary button, and this might just be like let's call this outline. So for this, I'm just going to remove the fill, and I'm just going to add like an outline color, and then this inside of here might just be like our gray text. So we're going to use this button, and so I want the buttons to also have like icons that we can adjust. So what I'm just going to do is that I'm just going to select this, right click on this, and then go over to plugins and select huge icons. So I'm going to quickly create a box where we're going to be hosting all of our icons moving forward. I'm going to name these icons. So I'm just going to come over here and change this to right. So I'm going to select this. So make sure we continue using the 40 that I've always been using. So let me select this now, push this. So this is what I want. Then I'm going to make this a component, copy this, select this and paste. So I'm going to shift this to the front and then increase this to fit the whole area. So you know what, I'm just going to add like a fill here. So I'm just going to add like a white fill so that I can see what I'm doing. So I can see like how everything looks. So now that we have this, this is going to also be like our gray text color. Yes, then this is going to be our white text. So we didn't create a color style for the white text. I wouldn't want us to, let's do that white, and let's change this to like FFFFFF and create it. So for this, everything inside of here, that's like then I think I selected the wrong thing. So I'm just going to change this to white, and also I'm going to change this to white. So there's a little thing that we need to finally do before we move forward. We're going to add like a component properties to this. So I'm going to select this and this. The first thing we want to be able to, we are going to be adding more icons to this place. As we move forward, if there's any new icon that we actually add to our project, we're going to update it here. So we want it to be possible that any icon we have here, we can actually swap most of all these things, the icons here, to any of the icon we have inside here. So to make that possible, I'm just going to select this icon up here. So I'm going to call this swap icon, and then I'm going to create property, and then finally I'm going to go over the appearance also. So I want us to be able to actually have buttons where icons are visible and where the icons are also not visible. So I want to have like different variations. We don't have to always create new buttons for every state. So I'm just going to create this and call this show right icon. So this is going to be show right icon. And then finally, we're going to select this, and then we're going to add component property here, so we can be able to edit the text also. So we're going to change this to text. So now that we have this, so if we select this now, you can see the component properties. So I can change the text from here. I can also turn on or off the icon. So for this particular button, we don't need the icon. So that's the more reason why we needed to actually make this possible. So I can also swap the buttons. I can change to different type of button states. So I'm just going to select this and make sure this is still working with our 5 with our margin. So yeah, so that's it. So there's something I just want to quickly, let me select this, so I'll just arrange the way everything is. So I want text to come to the top before this. So if I select this, yeah, I want it to come last. All right. So if I want to show the icons, I can show the icons. If I don't want to show the icons, I can always remove it also. So now that we have this, I'm just going to push this to where we are creating all of our components. So I'm going to push this down here, and then I'm going to push this here also. So we're just going to keep updating this all the components here. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm just going to continue. So we're going to delete this. But one final thing, I think I would like us to add like a little shadow to this. So I want us to add shadow to this particular button. So I'm just going to go over here and then select this particular button, then come over to effects, select effects, and then the settings I'm going to use is like 8. And this is going to be like 4. And then this is going to be 40. I think 40 looks too much, so I'm just going to change this to, let me say 24, so it's still visible. And then I'm going to change this to let me change it to created on this file and use this. So this is going to be like 25. 25 is not visible. Let's see if we can see. Let me try this. Oh, this looks too harsh. And then let me reduce this to 16 and see. Let's reduce it to 4. And then this is 0. I think this 4 and 8 looks okay. But we'll just have to reduce this to maybe 40 or something. It's too visible. Let's see how it looks here. All right. So I'm now going to add auto layout to this. So I'm going to add auto layout to this and change this to auto. Why I'm changing it to auto, so if I'm actually increasing it or reducing it, it can actually be responsive. And what else? We're going to leave this at 80. I think that's all. So I'm going to remove this from clip content, and then I'm going to make it a component. So now we can now make it a component. So now that we can now make it a component, we've done that. To see that, let me quickly turn off the grid. I'm going to remove the grid, and then I'm just going to copy it and paste inside of here, then push it to the top. So I'm now going to play this particular work so that I can see what I've been working on. So I'm going to hit Z 2 times. So look at here, it has changed to this. I want it to fit width of my screen. So this is how it looks, and this is how I want it to look. So as we proceed, you will notice that I'm going to be previewing my work a lot. It's very good to preview your work so you know the progress you're making. So we don't need this for now, so I'm just going to delete it. We're going to add it very soon. So the next thing we're going to do now is to draw a frame. So the frame is going to be called hero section. So I'm just going to make this fill this entire place, and I'm going to rename this to hero section. But before we proceed, let's make sure that we named everything here, so there's nothing that is not named here. All right, okay, so I think everything is done here. So now we're going to select this. This is the hero section. Why am I seeing a rectangle here? I don't think we need this. I'm just going to delete this. So now that we have this, I'm going to change the color of this hero section. So the background color for the hero section is going to be our gradient 1. So if you play that, this is how it looks. So it's not really too much, but if you look at it closely, you'll notice that there's kind of like a gradient happening here. I think if you scroll, you'll be able to see it. So that's that for that. So that's the first thing. So the second thing that we're going to do now is to start creating the content of what we have inside. So the content that we have there, I'm just going to select this and just go over here. And then I'm going to go over here. So we are done with this, we're done with this part. So we are now in hero section. So I'm just going to, copy this particular. So this is the first thing we're going to bring in. I'm going to change this to 16. Change this to regular. And then hold Shift A to add auto layout to it. And then the top and bottom will just be like, I want it to have like 40 all around that. And then I'm going to apply our white color. And then the stroke is going to be our outline color. Let me see how that looks. Now, perfect. So I'm just going to give it like 100. So to be like, the corner radius will just be like round here. So that's what I'm going to achieve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring in like another text. So the next text says news. So I'm going to duplicate this. So this, I'm going to also hit Shift A for this particular content. But before we hit Shift A, I'm going to change this to news. And then I'm going to hold Shift A for this also. So we have added auto layout to this. So I'm going to call this badge. So the text inside of here is going to be reduced to like, let's reduce it to like, 10. And then change it to semi-bold. And then I'm going to change it to like 8 top and bottom. Or should I put it at 4 top and bottom, then 4 also. And then we're going to give it a fill, gradient 2. And just like the top, we're going to give it corner radius of this. So this, I'm just going to give it like 3 times the size of the top and bottom. So the top and bottom is 4, so I'm giving this 12. So, and finally, we are going to change the black color to white. So let me see how that looks. Yeah, I think this looks okay. I'll just reduce this to twice the size. Okay. I think it's a little too tiny, let's change it to 12. So it's not looking too small. Yep. So now the distance between them, we can just leave it at 8. And then I'm just going to add like an icon at the end of this. So the icon we are going to use is this icon that we've created. So I'm just going to copy this with Ctrl C and then come over here and duplicate this first. So I'm going to hit Ctrl D or Command D if you're using a Mac. And then we're going to paste to replace. So to paste to replace, I'm going to select this and click paste to replace. So the reason why it's pasting here is because we have already copied this particular icon with Ctrl C. So we then duplicated this so that we can now paste to replace. So the paste to replace will then finally use the, or you can use the shortcuts. But moving forward, I'm going to be using the shortcut. So let's see how that plays out. Let's see how that looks. So I'm just going to add like a little padding at the edge here on the right. So I'm going to go over here and select this to see all the padding. So I want to add like a little, probably let me just increase this to 8. You get, so it's only here that I'm editing. Yeah, this looks okay. So now that I've done this, let me make sure that, so we have this. So now I'm just going to center this. Now that we've created this, I'm going to center this. And then I'm going to push this outside here to make it a component. So I'm going to call this, what should we call this? Let's call this tagline or something. I don't have anything in mind to name it. I'm just going to name it this. You can name it whatever you want to name it. So I'm going to make it a component. So now that I've made it a component, I'm going to copy it. So we're also going to use this for our section header. So I'm just going to create a variation, which is going to be for our section header. So for the section header, instead of this text here, this is going to be our logo. We're going to add our logo here inside and change this to section. So the section name. So whatever section name is here. So I'm just going to turn this off because we're not going to be needing the icon there. And then I'm going to add like another. So instead of 8, I'm going to increase it to like 12 so that it looks balanced. You get. So for this now, we need to add like our icons. Let me shift this. So we need to add like our logo icon here. So I'm going to copy this logo, copy it, and then zoom in. So now if you look at here, you see the height of this is 16. So we are going to use the height of 16 when we change this. So I'm going to reduce this to like 16. And then change it to like white. But if you notice, like it's looking like the outline are kind of like too solid, which we don't want. So I'm just going to go over to, I'm going to hit enter so that I can select the all the shapes inside, and I will now change this to 1. So now that I've changed it to 1, you see how it looks very okay. So I'm just going to hold this and then add a component property to this so that we can easily edit the text. Section title. Yeah, so I'm going to change this to, let me change it to state. So this is currently for, hero section. And then this is currently for section headers, section titles. So we're going to copy this right now. And then I'm going to select this, our hero page. Make sure the hero section is selected. And I'm going to paste this now. So I'm going to center it properly. And then make the distance from the top to this should be 160. Remember, we're going to add the navbar. That's why I'm leaving this space. So I'm just going to leave it here and center it properly. So now that we are done with that, let me see how it looks here. I think nothing has appeared here. Okay, this is how it looks. Yeah. So the next thing we're going to do now is to bring in the header for this section. The header, it says simplify work, multiply results with AI, powered by AI. So I'm going to copy this and then select our text tool and then paste this. So we're going to increase the size for this. So the size for this, we're going to change this to 60, and then we're going to change, okay, bold looks fine. So I'm just going to reduce this and then center this properly. So we want it to, let me keep reducing and then center it properly. And then I'm going to reduce this. So the distance between here and here, I'm just going to leave the distance to be like, let's see how it looks. So you see, I keep checking what I'm doing so that I am on point. I think this looks okay. So I'm just going to center this properly. And then I'm going to select this from this and give it our gradient fill. So I'm going to come over here. The fill will be our gradient too. Alright, so now that we have this, the next part is like the subtext. So we're going to apply auto layout to all this later, but I just don't want to think too much about it right now, so it doesn't confuse you. But on a normal day, if I'm creating that, I would have used auto layout from the jump. So I just want you to be able to follow along, so you see everything I'm doing. So the next thing I'm just going to do, I'm going to select this, paste this, and this, I'm going to leave this at 16, and then change this like regular, and then we're going to change this to our gray text. Hopefully it's very visible when we check it. So I'm going to select this and this. We're going to center it. Now I'm going to select both of this and add auto layout to it. So I'm going to add auto layout to it and center it properly. So this is now going to be fill. I'm going to change this to fill. So this is how it will look. Let's look at it. Yeah, so this is how it looks. I guess this our color has not updated yet. Probably is going to take its time before it uploads. Alright, so the next thing we are going to do now is to bring in button. So since we already have different variations of the same button, I'm just going to come here and drag in the button from here. So since we are using 16 for this, I'm just going to drag this inside of here, since we're maintaining 16. Yeah, I'm just going to drag this, still maintaining, while maintaining the 160 we have here. And then we're going to duplicate the button and then change the button to the outline. And I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to add auto layout to it, and then the gap will be 20. And then we're going to center it properly, and then make sure this is going to be 40, the distance of 40. And then I'm going to select this and add auto layout. All right, so we're going to call this main header, and then we already have our, so this is going to be buttons. So for this, I'm going to turn on the right icon, and yep. So since I have 190 here, I might just change this to like 190 also. Let me see how that works. I think this looks okay. So I noticed like the outline is not too solid, so I'm just going to go over here, select this, and go to the main component and see what's going on. So first thing I'm going to, I like changing the outline to outside. Let's see if that will work. I still faint, so I'm just going to change this to 2. Or you know what, let's just change this to our gray text also, and then leave it at 1. So I'm going to select this to see. Yeah, so this looks better. This looks better. And so we are going to return to the instance. We're going to return back here. So now that we have this, I'm just going to make sure that this is centered properly. And this is this. So far so good. This is what we currently have. I don't know why this is not displaying. Probably it will update with time. If it doesn't update, I'll probably work on it again. So now that we have this, the next thing we're going to create now is the social proof. So for the social proof, I'm just going to have like 4 icons, 4 user profile icons. So I'm just going to lock the aspect ratio so I can reduce it to like 40, and then corner radius like 100, so it will be round. And then this is the first one, this will be like the second one, and I'm going to select both of them and add auto layout to it and name this user icon. And then this will be like image, or let's call this avatar. And then we're going to put this in 4 places. Then I'm going to hit enter. That's I'm selecting all of them. So I'm going to select all of them and then add stroke to this. So the stroke that we're going to add is like a white color, and then we're going to change this to like 2. Don't forget, make this outside. So now there's one trick we're going to do here. Instead of actually trying to arrange this ourselves, we're just going to select this and give it -12. Yes, I think -12 is too much. Let's use -8. Yeah, we're going to use -8 to arrange it like this. So the next thing we're going to do is to bring in the social proof text. So I'm just going to go over here and copy the details again. So I forgot to add this watch demo. I'm just going to make sure I add it. So we have like 5 stars, and then we're going to add that message underneath it. So I'm just going to paste the message first. And for this should be like probably 12. And then we're going to reduce this to like medium. And then now I'm going to use the star to bring in, yeah, I think 16 looks good. So I'm just going to duplicate this, select both of them, add auto layout to it and gap of 4, then 3 more. All right, so I'm just going to change the fill, go down to selection color. Don't add fill here, just come over to selection color, change this to yellow. And then I'm just going to bring this down here, add auto layout to both of them. So I'm going to select these 2 and add auto layout. Distance should be like 4, and then select this and this also, add auto layout. and the gap should be 20. That's the gap between here should be 20 instead of 30. Yep. So I'm going to put this to the center, then drag this and push inside of here and push it down. So I'm just going to quickly add images to this. And then let me change this to gray text. Let me change this to our gray text. Let me see if that is still look good. Yep. Well, let's change this to like 14. I think 12 looks perfect. So I'm going to use the plugin content reels to add the avatars that we're going to have here. So I'm going to use content reel. So I'm going to go over to images, and then I'm going to select photo, then apply all. So it's just going to fill those. Oh, I think I'll need to select this. So there's a little error. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z. So if you want this to apply to each individual, shape, I'll just hit enter so that it shows that I've selected these shapes. I didn't select these shapes. That's why it kind of like appeared in the back. So I'm going to hit apply now. So you see, so this is what we want to happen. Let me see if we can get like a very good selection. All right, I think we can use this. This can work. Yep. I think this can work. So I'm just going to leave this. So we are done creating this. So this is more like the main content. So we are just going to call this main content. And then this is like the main header, or we can just call this, main header. Let's just leave this as header. And then we have the buttons. And then finally we have the social proof. So this is like user icons. Then this is like the rating. So this is like stars. And then this is text finally. So now that we are done with this aspect, I'm just going to now add, I'm going to drag this downwards a bit, and I'm then going to add like another frame for the intro video. So where the company can add their intro video. So the height for this, I'm going to use like 600, but let's use 580. I think 580 looks better. So I'm just going to change this to like D9. Before we add the image. So the corner radius, we are just going to use like 24 for the corner radius. And I'm going to just center this. And this is going to be distance of like 80. So now I can now add auto layout to the entire heroes section frame. So I'm just going to add auto layout to it. But now the gap for this top, we are going to change it. So we're going to enter manual values. So for the sides, we're going to change this to 120. It's supposed to be 120 on both sides. So we can be consistent with our margin. And then for the top, we have like 160 because we're going to be adding our nav bar at the top here. And below here is going to be 60. So this is exactly what we are chasing. So this is how it looks. So we are going to add like a white stroke to this particular frame. That's the company intro. So I'm going to change this to like 4, and then probably leave it outside and see how that looks. Yeah, I think this looks okay. So now we're just going to quickly add an image to this. Let's quickly use Unsplash to add image to this. While waiting for that to load, I'm just going to change this to, let's bring this over here. So I'm going to select this button and change this to watch demo. So now I'm going to search for theme. So I'm going to go over here, downwards. Well, let's use this. So now that we've added this, I'm just going to close this, come over here. Then I'm going to remove the fill we had before and then add like another fill. So let's quickly turn off this grid. So the next thing we're going to add now, we're going to add like, let's go over to Accent and search for, you know what, let's come back here and I'm going to use like a plugin called Flat Icon to bring in a YouTube link. So okay, yeah, so Flat Icon, I already have it here, or you can search for Flat Icon from here. Let's go over to Action, Flat Icon. So I'm only going to select Flat Icon and then select this frame. So let's just search for YouTube. So I'm just going to go down and make sure I find like YouTube. Let me add this. So I'm going to hit this add button. Alright, I think this will do. Don't need to waste time doing that. So I'm just going to hit, I'm just going to scale this down to like 100 or something. Or let's just use 120 or 100. Let's see how 100 looks. I'm going to center this properly and let's play this. It looks quite big. So I'm just going to reduce it to be like 80 or so. Then center this properly. It doesn't look bad though. And then for this, let's just change this to 40. Yeah. So I think this looks okay. And then we're just going to continue building. So now that we are done with the hero section, let's make sure that we've named. So let's call this company intro video. So I'm just going to close this and close this. So we are now done with the hero section. This is on that landing page. So I'm just going to move this to the top and then to the top and then to the top. So we are going to see everything pertaining to the landing page down here. So the next thing I'm now going to do now is to bring in the section where we're going to add like different logos. I'm going to select this. So, and I'm going to add the color for this here. So the color that we're going to use there is, let's type it out manually. So it's like a light red color. So I'm just going to type in FE F2 F2. Alright, so this is what we want. So I'm just going to select the whole landing page and add auto layout to it. Alright, so we're going to call these logos. So let me select this and make sure there's no gap. Alright. So now we'll need to go to Figma community to bring in like free placeholder logos, because I think here what we have, I think let's bring in the text. Then there's like suggestions for some kind of logo, but for the course of this tutorial I'm not going to bring in these logos, but I'll show you where you can get these logos, but I'm not going to use these logos for this. I'll just rather use like free placeholder logos. So the first thing, I'm just going to select this and paste here. And then this should just be like semi-bold or something. I'll leave it at 16 and then change this to gray text. And I'm going to center it properly and make sure that the distance. So for each section is going to have like a top and bottom padding of 60. Why I added 160 here is because of like the, you know, the navbar that is here. But if you check, the distance between this and the bottom is 60. So I want everything to maintain that same thing. So I'm just going to select this and add auto layout to this logos panel, this logo section, and I'm going to add top and bottom padding to like 60. That's what we're going to work with, and this should be like 120. And then I'm now going to go over to Figma community. So once you are on your Figma dashboard, just click on templates and tools and then search for. So I said that I'm going to show you how to get like the real tech logos. That's big tech companies, their logos. To get that, there's this community file I normally use. Let me search 250. Okay, yeah. So this is it. 250 logos of tech products. So let's select that. So you're going to see top companies logo. I think you will find most of the logos I mentioned on that file here. You can see most of the logos, you find them here. So all of these logos that I mentioned here, where is that? Slack, Notion, Asana, Grammarly, and Calendly, you're going to see them there. But we're not going to use those ones. I want to use like a free placeholder logo, free logos. So we're going to use this. So I'm going to open this so that I can, let me use UX design thing. So I'm going to just zoom in and find like, okay, let's make use of this. So I'm going to select this and copy this. And go back to our Figma file. For the sake of this tutorial, that's just what I'm going to do. But if you are working on an actual project, you are going to search for those logos yourself. So it's either you go to your Google and search for the XVG or the PNG version and get them yourself. And then you have to resize them. So I'm going to duplicate this and use the paste to replace shortcut. But we don't want it to look like this. So I'm just going to I'm going to select the logos section. Then we're going to change the layout. So we're going to change it to a vertical layout. So this is what we want. So I'm just going to delete this last particular logo. And then I'm going to reduce this. So I'm going to click on K and reduce this to like 14. And then the gap between them, I might just use like 20 or so. Let's see how 20 looks. So I'm just going to preview this and see. All right, so finally we have our powered by AI. The color is finally showing. So this is what we have. I think 20 looks okay. So now that we have this, we're just going to move to the next section now that this has been updated. So for the next section, I'm just going to close this and close the hero section. So we are done with the hero section and the logo section. So the next section is the features, I guess. Yeah. So it's the features. So I'm just going to select features. But instead of selecting features, let me just duplicate this first and then rename this part to features. So now that we've renamed it to features, don't forget our section headers. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just copy this and then come here. I'm going to paste to replace. So, but this time around, we're going to change it to section title and we're going to change it to features. All right. So now that we have this is what we're going to use. Now let's make sure this is top and bottom 60. So now we're going to bring in like a text that we're going to use for this. So the text that we're going to use here is where's the features? I think it says an experience that adapts and scale with your work. So we're going to bring this in here. I'm going to paste to replace with the shortcut, or you can just right click and paste to replace this. So I've copied it. And then this is going to be 40. I think bold is okay. So, but then I'm going to reduce this and then center this, align to the center. So the next part that we're going to bring in is like the text. So I'm going to select this text, copy it, and then duplicate, paste to replace. Same thing. Just going to reduce this. But this text is very long. That's not the text we are meant to use there. So I'm just going to come here and copy this text that we have under features. So I'm just going to select it, just select it, I think we'll just have to edit it again. And this should be like 16. And then we're going to use regular here. So I'm going to select this and this, and probably let's select all. And let me see how it looks. So let's give it like gap of like 16. Then it's centered properly. All right, so now that we have this, we're just going to proceed to the next section. So the next section, we're going to have like, let me go over here and see. All right, we're going to have like three core features that we're actually going to be highlighting. So we're going to create like 3 cards at that point. So what I'm just going to do, so there's one thing I want to do. Since we've had this color consistent, we've had like this color blend down to this particular section. So I would like to have this section to be white instead of the same color there. So I'm just going to change this to white. So we're going to have this to be white, and it's going to be slightly different from what we have up there. So now I'm now going to create like a frame. But don't forget, we'll need to turn on our layout grid here. So I'm going to bring in desktop grid. Where's that box I created right now? So the color for this, I'm going to change the fill to our gradient 1, because it's our gradient 1 that we're going to be using here. Yes. So I'm going to give it like corner radius of like 12, and well, let's just leave it at like 16. And then we're going to add like stroke. So our stroke is the regular outline color that we used. And then I'm going to give gap here. So the gap for here is just going to be like 60. 60 is fine. Yeah. And I want this to be a square. But right now, what I'm just going to do is just duplicate this and then select this, and then add auto layout to it, and then change the layout to horizontal, and then give it a gap of like 20. And then I'm going to now duplicate. So now you notice that it's not actually following this. We want each of the card to fill in 3, I think 4 or 3, yeah, since we have 12, so it will be 4 4. So to do that, I don't need to stress too much about that. I'm just going to select the entire frame. So I'm going to call these features cards. So I'm just going to change this features card that is hosting the 3 cards. I'm going to change it to fill. So now that I've changed it to fill, now this I'm going to call this feature 1. Copy this and paste here. I change this to 2. Copy this and paste here and change this to 3. So I'm going to select 3 of them. You can see 3 of them is selected. Then I'm going to change them to fill. So now that they are in fill, now you see how they've actually filled the whole place. And now I want it, I'm just going to select them. I want them to be a square. So we have 386 here. So I want this to be 386 also. Yeah, so that's what I want. So this is what we currently have. So remember what I said about having the stroke to be outside? That's what I want to do. All right, so we have our strokes outside. So this is what we have so far. I think our design is kind of like taking shape. So then I'm now going to start with the first one. So for the first one, we're going to start by bringing in like the caption that we have there. Let me go over to that point. Okay, under features, this is like the captions we have. So I'm going to select everything and just paste it there. Then I'll be picking them one by one. Or no, let me pick it one by one. I don't want to confuse you. I don't want you to start thinking or wondering what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pick them one after the other. So I'm going to paste this inside of here, and I'm going to remove this bullet point. So for this, I'll just leave this at 24, and then I'm just going to, take this to a new line. So for this, I want to use 40 top and bottom. I don't know how that will look, but let's just leave it at 40. And then I'm going to select something else and put down here. But this will be like a tiny text. not really as bold as what we have there. So I'm just going to change this, then select this, which is under work automation. So I'm going to paste this. We're going to remove this bullet point. And then I'm going to change the size of this to like 16. And then I'm going to change this to like regular. And then I'm going to change this to gray text. And then bring this. So I'm going to finally select this and then add auto layout to this card. And then add our padding, top and bottom 40. I don't know if the 40 looks too much, but it looks okay. Let's try 20 and see. Top and bottom 20. You know what? I want to just use something in between. So I'm just going to use like 32. Let me try 32, 32. I think I like 32, 32, 32. 32 looks okay. So we're going to make sure this is on fill. Okay, it's already on fill. It's already on fill container. So since we already have this, I'm just going to select this, and select this, paste to replace. Yes, so it's almost the same content that we're going to have. Let me make sure it's still following our. So I'm just going to change this back to fill. And then this is 386 also. And then I want the gap inside of here to be auto so that it will stretch. You see the way it has stretched now. Alright, so I'm just going to bring in the rest. So the next one is all-in-one demand, all-in-one dashboard. Let me take note of the settings, 24 bold, in case it changes. So it did change actually. So 24 bold, and I'm just going to cut this. And then I'm going to go back and then bring in this text. So this is 16 regular, so that's the same thing. I'm just going to make sure this 16 regular, 16 regular, then gray text. Let's just change this to 14. Yep. So I'm just going to change this to 14. Let's go over here. And finally is collaborate smarter. So this is 24 bold, collaborate smarter. Let's now bring the final thing, which is like work seamlessly with real-time AI assistance. So I'm going to change this to 14. Then I'm going to change this to regular. Alright, I think this is like a little too much. And then I'm just going to so this is like 54, so I'm just going to change this also to like 54 height also. So they will just have like extra spaces to balance with this. Or if we can, let me try centering the text. Okay, I guess let me try doing this and see. Okay, I think this works. So we'll just use this instead to just balance it so it's not too visible. Alright, so since we have this now, we're just going to create like a little, some vectors that we're going to add inside of this. So let's quickly do that. So for the first one, I'm just going to create like a frame inside of this. And then I'm going to change this to white color and then give it a corner radius of like 12. Let me see if that's reflecting. Okay, yeah. More like in the indicator. So it's going to be 8, duplicate, add auto layout, and then Yep. So I'm going to give it like, maybe let's give it 4 and see. I think 4 looks okay. And then we're going to change this to hog. So for this, I'm just going to change this to red, yellow, green. So this is the red that we created, then the green. So I'm using tab to move this. So if you are wondering how I was able to actually move without selecting, I clicked on tab on my keyboard to move to the next one. And then I select yellow, hit tab again to move to the last one, which is what's the last color? Green. And then we're just going to add another frame inside of this. And then I'm going to bring in like a rectangle. Then I'm just going to draw. And then the fill is going to be gray. Oh, the gray is too much. Let's see if we can use this gray. Is it visible? It's not that visible. But let me change the height to like 8 and see if it's visible now. It's not that visible though. Let's see if we can see any gray that works. Okay, I think this works. So we're going to change this to like 100 to have like round corners. And this, I'm just going to select this and add auto layout to both of them. So I'm going to come back to this. And then this is just going to be like 8. And then I'm going to add, the fill I'm going to add to this now is our gradient 1. So this is how it looks. Now let's now add auto layout to the entire frame. So I'm going to call this, let me name the frame vector. Then we're just going to call this like indicators. And then this is just going to be like so this final one probably like, you know, main. All right, so I'm just going to quickly fix this. So the gap for this, I'm just going to leave it at 12, maybe 16. Then top and bottom should be like 16, and then right and left 16. Let me see how this looks. For this, I'm going to change this to corner radius to 8. And then the corner radius for this, let me change this to 4. All right, I think I like this. So finally, this now, I'm going to change this to fill. That's this indicators here. I'm going to change it to fill. Yeah, so make sure it's on auto. In case your own is not stretching like this, make sure it's on auto. All right, so I'm just going to select it and check it again. Okay, so now that we have this, we're just going to add like a little content inside of this. So for this, I'm just going to say save 10 plus hours weekly. So I don't really have anything at the top of my head while creating this. We're just going to just add random vectors there. Probably you can experiment with better vectors when you're actually working on your own. So now we're going to bring in an icon here. So we're going to bring in the zap icon. So for that, I'm just going to go over to I'm going to duplicate this. And then go over to the Huge Icons Pro. So I'm going to search for zap. All right, so this is what we want. So I'm going to make it a component. So this way, why you might be wondering why I'm stacking all these components here. You know, it makes it easier for your developers to come and just pick these components and use it to create whatever he wants to create instead of asking you or trying to manually pick them. You know, most times some developers struggle with actually picking this component out of your work. So it's better to just create like a main component where you can have everything ready for them. So I'm going to click enter to select the icon. I'm going to remove the strokes and just change the fill to yellow. And so I'm just going to change this to like 40 and then center this properly. And then this should be like, let's just say 24. Let's say 24 is too much. 16 looks perfect. And then I'm just going to change this to like semi bold, and then add auto layout to this. Let's check. All right, this doesn't look bad. Let's not think too much about it. We have a lot of things to work on, so let's just move forward. So this will just be like 12. I think that's the only change I want to make to this. And probably the margins for this 16. Yeah, so this looks okay. So now that we are done with this, I'm just going to select this. Let's quickly add like you know what, I'm going to center this entire thing. So I'm just going to center everything, but we're not going to center this. We're just going to select this and change this to fill instead of hog. So this is how it's going to be, and this two, we're going to leave it at fill. Okay, it's already on fill, so this is going to be centered. So this is what I want, and then I'm going to select this quickly and add a little shadow to it. So I'm going to change this to 16 and then change it to our gradients fill. So probably we'll change this to 25 or so. So this is okay. So now that we are done with this, we're going to move over to this next one, all-in-one dashboard. So for now, we don't have like a dashboard, and I don't want to stress about bringing a dashboard. Probably if you're working on your own, or when you are editing this particular template, you can try to be creative about whatever thing you're building. But we are just going to build fast because we still have like a lot of things to do. And I'm just going to call this tags/docs. So I'm just going to speed up some of these processes. And I'm going to change this to 4 or 8 is okay. Then I'm going to give it like 100 corner radius. So I want to give like this illusion of like a document. I'm going to add auto layout to the entire thing. And then this should be like 120 or so. But let's make it 100. And then this is going to hog the content. But this is not going to be few. I'm going to reduce this. Then duplicate, and duplicate, and then reduce this to maybe like this. And then I'm going to change the padding. Probably like 12, and this is going to be like 24, and then corner radius of like 12. 12 is too much. I think 4 looks great, or 8 looks even better. And then this should be like 100 knots. So I'm going to select this and click enter to select everything inside. So I'm going to change everything inside to fill, although we are going to still edit this ones. Let's take this back to 120. Yes, so you see how it was able to just adjust. So for this now, I'm just going to duplicate this. And then now that we have two docs, I'm going to select both of them and then add strokes to both of them at once. So I'm going to add outline to it and then add auto layout to it. Add auto layout to it. And I'm going to change this to minus 24. And then I'm going to change individually. I'm going to rotate them. So I'm going to rotate this 12 and rotate this minus 12. All right. So I want this one to come to the top. So I'm going to go over here to this little auto layout setting here. So we want first one on top. First one on top. So this one, okay, it didn't still work. So I'm going to select this, come here. Okay, I think I was editing the wrong one. So first one on top, and then select this, come to effect, then apply some sort of like, shadows to it. This should be like 16. All right. And then I'm going to call these tags. And then I'm going to cut this and come here and paste this. So I'm going to move it to the top. And then I'm going to select this and center everything. But just like the last one, we're just going to select this and change this to fill. All right, so I'm just going to copy this shadow I applied here. I think the shadow looks too much, so let me try and reduce that a bit. Let me change this to like 16 and see. Then I'm going to select this. So you can copy the shadow. I can just right click on this. Okay, since I can't right click, just use Ctrl C or Command C on your keyboard, and then come here and Ctrl V or Command V. So as you can see, that's pasted there. So this is how it looks. So going from here down to this place, down to this place, down to this place. Yeah, so this is what we have. So we are just going to add like a final vector for here for this particular collaborate smarter, so that we can move to the next frames. So for that, I'm not going to think too much about what to add there. So let's turn off this grid. I'm just going to remove it entirely because we don't need it. So for that, okay, I don't think there's anything I'm picking from there. I'll just come over here and select like all of this frame. So I'm going to hit enter so that I can select just the avatars. So I'm going to copy it and then come here. Let's just paste to replace. Let's select something here and paste to replace. So now that I want to paste to replace, I'll just quickly create like a frame that will host like our logo. So I'll call this logo. And then I'm just going to bring this down here. And then this, I'm just going to delete this. I don't need this. So this is going to be up here. And then this is just going to be just random places. And this, I'm just going to reduce them to like 32 or something. So I'm not going to think too much about the placement of this. Probably you can be creative when you're doing yours. So the corner radius, I'm just going to put like 12. Oh no, let's put 8 here. Or let's reduce it to 4. I don't want it to be too loud. All right, so now that we have this, I'm just going to go over here and pick our logo. I think this box looks small for our logo, but I'm just going to paste it and find out the size. All right, so since I know the size now, I'm just going to change. I'm going to add auto layout to this and then change the width to hug. And then add padding to it, like 12 top and bottom, 12. All right, so let's change this the normal 24, just like we have been doing. I'm just going to push this outside, then move this here. So we still want to maintain, 16 doesn't look bad though. So I'm just going to just take note of the measurement. I like 32 at the top there, so I'm just going to change this to 20, then select this, still maintain this at this. So I'm just going to select this, and this might be like 2416, and then probably like 1636 is okay. So I'm just going to select everything, group them. So I think this is the only place I'm permitted to use grouping. So I'm going to cut it, select this, and paste. And then I'm going to move this to the top. But this looks also nice, the way we kept it down there. But no, I'm going to put that in middle just like the rest. All right, so this looks amazing. So you can just try to, experiment with the way you want to actually place yours. And then I might just reduce this. This is looking too big, so I'll just try and reduce it. So I'll just use K instead. I'll hit K on my keyboard and reduce it to like 48. Yep. And then let me zoom in. So 25, and leave this at 16. All right, so I'm just going to center this also. Close the scale because you won't be able to see other functions. And then this is going to now be fill. So let's view this and see how it looks. Let me add like a little edit to this. So I'm just going to use scale and maybe change this to like 60. Well, let's change this to like 52. All right, I think this looks okay. All right, so now that we already have this, can just final touch to this will be let's make this 8. That's the corner radius. I added corner radius of 8 there. So now that we have this, we are done with this particular section. So we're just going to move to the next section. So far, this is what we have. Let me quickly go to the top and try to scroll down. So far, this is what we currently have. And then I'm just going to move forward. So I'm going to duplicate this particular section. So I'm just going to collapse most of this. So far, what we have done the hero section, the logos, and then the features. So let me see what we have next. So the next one is solutions. Let me just copy this instead of coming back to this. So we're going to rename this to solutions. And then I'm going to select this, also update this to solutions. Then we're going to change this. This is like 40 bold, don't forget. So I'm going to select this and add 40 bold also. All right, so this is what we want. But we're going to use like a totally different layout for this. So I'm going to delete this, and then this, I'm going to move this to the right. So I'm going to select the solutions section and move it to the right. And then I'm going to select this, change the alignment to the left. And then change it to the left. And then also the alignment to the left. So this is what we are going to do next. And I'm going to quickly add like a rectangle here. So the rectangle, I'm just going to turn on our layouts grid. So for this, we're just going to change out the layout for this to horizontal. And then I'll just make sure this fits in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of this. And then let's see, corner radius should be like 24. Let's see if that's too much. And I want this to be a square, so down here also will be 590. All right, so I'm just going to select this and push this to the top. And this will just be fill. Maybe I'll just try reducing this. All right. So I'm going to change the gap to like, let's say 100. Well, you know what? Let's change it to auto and see what happens. Okay, let me change this to like 100 and see. Let me change this to 120. All right. So let's see how that looks. 120. This is how 120 looks. All right, so let's move ahead. So the next things that we're going to have, I think we're going to have like some checklist. But before that, let's quickly update this particular. Oh, I think that's deep dive. I'm copying the wrong one. So I'm just going to copy this. Spice solutions for. All right, so I'm just going to paste this here. This is 16 regular, don't forget. 16, and we're going to change this to, all right. First of all, let me change this to fill, and then change this to 16, and now change this back to regular. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to add some form of selection. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go over here and bring in the check icon. And I'm going to change this to free and then search for check. All right, so we're going to make use of this one. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to close this and change this to a component. All right, so I'm going to select this right now. Come over here, and then, so what we are going to do here is that we're going to call this header. And make sure that everything inside of here is set to fill, so it is responsive. Except this can be the same way. We don't need this to be in fill. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this, but I would still, work on that. So I'm now going to select both of these and add auto layout to it and change the layout, and then use my arrow key to move this forward. So now we're now going to add all the checklists, but before we move to adding the checklist, I'm just going to change the color for this. So I'm going to hit enter and then select just this vector, that's the circle, and change it to our gradient 2. Oh, no. Let's remove the stroke. We don't want stroke. Instead, we want to add fill to this. And then this is just going to change to the white color. All right, so this is what we currently have. Let me see if that has been reflected. Yes. So now we're going to, bring in all the checklist. So the first one says boosting productivity. So let's maintain this at 16, and I don't want anything bold here, so regular. Medium looks okay. Medium looks fine. So I'm going to duplicate this, but select both of them, and the gap between them should be like 8. And then I'm going to go over here, select the next one. Select the next one, trusted by. So this is 16. Let's select outside. This should be 16, and then this should be medium. We can just leave them at regular. I think regular works. Don't worry, we're still going to work on all this. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Then the last one will be 247 support. Two 4/7 support. Let's quickly work on this. So this will be go back to regular, and this will go back to 16. So now that we have this, I'm just going to select this and this, add them to a component, make them auto layout, then this and this, make them auto layout, and then select this and this and make this also width. The first thing I did, I selected this and I selected this and I added auto layout to it. Then I selected this and I selected this, I added auto layout to it. Now, since they are both auto layout, I'm just going to select both of them and finally add auto layout to it. Why am I doing all this? So that I can change this to horizontal layout and we have this. This is what I want to achieve. So this is what I want to achieve. That's why I did all that. So I'm going to change this to right, so left matrix, and this is going to be list 1, and this is just going to be, well, let's call it item 2, and then it's going to be item 1. All right, so then we're going to call this right matrix, and then this is going to be item 1, and then this is going to be item 2. So this is all going to be metrics. All right, so now that we've done this, I'm just going to select this and this and add auto layout to them, and we're going to change this to header. So this is now going to change to right content. So this is metrics. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to add like gap of like 40 and see how that looks. Okay, I think this looks fine. So now the next thing we're going to add is that the remaining values that we have there, I believe we still have like some values there under the solutions. We still have like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to look for a way to rewrite most of all this. So I'm just going to, let me select all this and see. So I'll just look for a way to arrange them properly here. So I'm going to duplicate this and paste to replace. So we have them here, but this is not how they are going to stay because I have like other plans for how I want it to be arranged. So I'm just going to add like a frame, and this frame is just going to have like an outline. And then for the first, I think I didn't select 1 because it's supposed to be 4. Supposed to be 4. We have, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we just have just 3 there. All right, so since we have 3, I'm just going to change this to like 12, and let's see how that looks. Yeah, so this is what I want, and I'm going to change this to outside. Because I want the metrics to be like at the top, and then this should be like 24. And then we now have like these little metrics that we have here. I just paste them inside of here, and then reduce this to like 12. Companies, trust, Cognify. I think this sounds way better. And then the top and bottom should be like 12. I think this looks okay. And then probably like 4 looks good. Let me see how that looks. Let me change this to like 11. Or probably increase the text, and this is more like 24. Let me see how that looks. Then I'll just leave this at 12 instead. Then this should be like medium. So I'm going to duplicate this, select this and this, add auto layouts, and then this will be gap of 12. And for the last one, gap of 12. But if you notice now, it's not entering this place again because of the way we structured it. So I'm just going to reduce all of this to 24. And then probably like reduce the text to like 10 or something. All right, so I think it's coming back gradually. And we're just going to change this to fill. And then change the entire row to fill also. Not hog fill. So I'm going to select everything and change to fill. All right, I think this works. This works. So let me just quickly update the details. So the next one is where's the dollar sign? 25 million plus. Let me see if this can enter. All right, it looks too much. Change this to what? Of time save. But let's just say we want to fit in these particular details that we've got. We need to be creative about the weights. We probably will just have to make it 2 lines or something. But if we make it 2 lines, we will now be forced to actually make these ones fill. And then I have to break these ones too. So for this one, I can't break this. So just 200 million plus. Can just leave it at 4. But just like we did the last one, we can just leave it at 26. So this will just be like height of like 26. And then we're just going to center the whole thing. Let's see how that looks. Not looking bad. And then we'll have like our final button. So then I'm just going to look for the city. So this will be start demo. Start free trial. So let's see how that looks. All right, I think this looks good. So now we're now going to, but this, I'm going to now center this. I don't like the way it's all up. So this is like the solutions. I'm just going to change this to image. And then I'm going to select this, duplicate this. And then since we already have a layer on this, I can just swap the positions. So the next section is deep dive. I don't think we'll have like this for this section. So I'm just going to go over here now and check what we have here. So what we have here is features deep dive. I don't think this is where we're supposed to edit from. I'm going to select here and paste here instead. So it's just going to update it by itself. And then this is the next detail that we're going to add. And then I'm going to change this to like 40 bold. So I don't know if I mentioned how I was able to swap this. So just hit like select this particular image, hit the arrow key on your keyboard. So if you want to move it to the right, to the left rather, if you want to move it to the left, hit your left arrow key. then it just, so that was how I moved it. I don't know if I mentioned that, so I just want to just clarify that. So let's go back and then the final semi-text. Oh, I keep going back to the wrong. Alright, so I'm just going to select this and then edit this to 16. Oh, still the cursor was still blinking, so whatever updates you do, it won't reflect. So I'm just going to change this to regular. So now that we have this, we'll just have to just update this. So for this, I'm going to change the color for this. There's another new kind of like button. I'm just going to go to the main component and then I'm going to duplicate or add another variant. I'm just going to call this orders. So I'm just going to call this order and well, let me just call this secondary. Yeah, secondary. I think that's the correct word. Since we already have like a primary button. So this particular button is not going to have like the strokes. Instead, it's going to have like our text color and then all of the gray text inside will be white. So this is the button I'm looking at bringing on board. So I'm just going to select this and then change this to our secondary button. And then come over here also and change this to our secondary button. Yeah, so let me quickly fill in all of this. I don't know if it's even up to 4 there. Okay, they're up to 4. So I'll just select all of them. And just select it and then come over here. So we are just going to duplicate this and paste to replace just for us to see the details and have enough time to write it out. But we are still going to delete real-time tracking. I don't know why I wrote that twice. So the next one is AI backed tax automation. And the next one is integrated project milestones. So the next one is advanced reports and analytics. So I just hope I spelled everything correctly. Alright, so we're going to stretch this a bit and see if that works. Yep. Then I'm going to change this to like 100 instead of 120. Yup. But we still have this one. This one is still like not on the same line. Let's see how it looks. Let's not think too much about it. And I think that's that for that. So we're just going to quickly add images to these places. Let's use Unsplash to do that. So we're going to search for theme. Then I'm just going to keep scrolling until I see something that looks nice. This looks okay, but no. So one thing about choosing images, you must choose images that have like the same, tone of what you're currently designing. So let's say, for example, now, if you're using like, at least you should have like a feel of what you're actually working on. You shouldn't like choose colors that have like totally different color or blend modes. Like if you can see, like there's this little pink here. The theme of this just gives like, okay, it fits into like this particular work that I'm doing. So it's just like, just this type of image wouldn't work here because, the colors are totally off from what we have currently on our work. So when you're choosing images, make sure you're choosing like images that like have like tone, like the tone is, or the feel is close to what you're actually designing. So I'm just going to add like outline to this. I'm going to select this and remove the layout grid, and I also select this and remove the layout grid. So this is what we currently have. So I'm just going to preview that and make sure that we are on the same page. You know what? I'm just going to change this back to 120. So I'm just going to use 540 instead. All right, so I'm going to use 540 each instead. All right, so it's balanced 540, 540. All right, so I think we are done with that. So we're just going to move down to the next phase of this project. So the next part that we're going to have now is the pricing card. So for the pricing, I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to use this. So I'm going to push this down here and name this pricing. And then I'm going to change the color to, so I'm just going to manually impute to the light red. So the color is FE F2 F2. So this is the color we're going to use here. So first we're going to change this to pricing. Then I'll just go and bring in the details. So I'm going to change this to 40, and then I'm going to change this to, okay, I think this looks okay. I'm going to select this. This will be like the text beneath. So this is going to be 16. I think this should be like regular. And so now we have like 3 pricing cards. So I'm just still going to retain this. It's just that these two we change to white instead of having this gray fill. So we're just going to leave this one at this color, and this is going to be white, and this is going to also be white. So this one will be like the recommended, one they should go for. So I'm going to delete most of this and just start from the header. So for the pricing, the first pricing we have is the starter. You know what, let me select everything. I'll just paste it just like I normally paste, and then I'll just work on it. So I'm just going to duplicate, paste to replace. So we have all the text here. So I'm just going to select this and change this to starter. All right, so now that we have this is more like 24, and I'm going to duplicate this. We have auto sets, that's why it's actually behaving like this. So we have like 19 slash months per month. And this is going to be medium. And then let's just leave this at 40 or something. Or let me just leave it at 32. I think 32 works, and this should be probably like 16. I think 16 looks too small. 20 looks good. And then I'm just going to change this to like 12 and see how that goes. And I'm going to duplicate this, push this down, and I'm going to change it for individual. And this is going to be like 14, and regular or medium. I think medium is okay. So I'm just going to change this to gray text. Then we're selecting both of these, add auto layout to it, and change the gap to maybe 4 or 8. I think 8 looks good. So everything looks too big, so I'm going to change this to 16 and see how it looks. Let's leave this at 20. And I'm going to leave this at 24. Probably we'll need to adjust it later on. But for now, I'm just going to leave it. So I'm going to add like a stroke, and we're going to change it to our outline color. And then finally, we're going to add like our list. So we're going to add this list down here. So we're going to paste the list. And then we're going to change it to medium. And then I'm going to change it to 16. So, but there's something about this. I don't know why it's behaving like that. Let me check if there's anything okay, there's like auto layout to this. Probably that's why it's behaving like that. And let me see if there's anything that I added absolute positioning to. Alright, I guess this is not inside, so I'm just going to cut this and I'm going to paste it inside, then move it up. So for this, instead of making it like a list like this, I'm just going to give them like individual, so they should just be on their own. So I'm just going to separate it by I'm going to select this, and select this. Then go over to this and add bullet points. Yep. And then I'm going to change this, add auto layout to it, and then change this to probably like 12 or maybe 8. It looks fine. And then one last thing is to add the get started button. So I'm just going to come over here, collect this button and paste it inside of here. And then I'm going to change this to fill and then change it to our outline color, outline state. So from what we have here, I can now change this to like 20. So we can just have this at probably like 400. And then maybe just change this to auto. So it's just stretched. Okay, let's see how that looks. Not bad. I think I'll just have to make this a little big. Now it's looking way too big, so it's still visible. And I'm going to change this to like regular. So let's clean this up quickly. So I wouldn't want to use bold here. Probably this looks better. And this should be like 16 or something. Let's change this to 18. So for this pricing, I might just have like 40 top and 40 bottom. But then I might just have this at 420. Alright, now that we have this, hope I'm not missing out any information. So I'm just going to change this to get started. Then I'm going to make sure this also follows the margin. I'm going to select that, select this. Then I'm going to paste it. And this, I'm going to change the color of this to our gradient 1. Alright, this is how it looks, and this is going to be our primary color. Alright, this is going to be our primary color. So now let's quickly go and bring in the details, and I'm just going to fill in the details. So I'm going to duplicate this just like I did before, paste to replace. And then I'm just going to copy the details one after the other and just paste it here. So this is growth, and this is more like 49. And this is for small teams. And this is everything. This data. This is advanced collaboration tools. This is shared. And finally, advanced progress tracking. So I'm done with this particular card. I'm just going to clean this and now move to this, which is Pro. And this is 99 per month, and this is for large things. Hopefully there are no errors. Alright, so I think we are done with this. So we are done with the pricing page. So we are just going to move over to the next page, which is like the blogs. So for the blog, I think we're going to use this same layout. I'm just going to push the layout down here. and then I'm just going to edit some things for the blog. So for the blog, let's quickly come over here. Where is the details for that? So I'm just going to copy everything so I can see what we are working on. I'm going to duplicate this, paste to replace. So I'm just going to manually enter everything that we're going to be working on. So I'm going to select this and remove everything. We're going to start off with this particular frame. But before that, let me quickly update this. So what's supposed to be here is blog/insights. And then we have stay ahead with AI powered insights. And then we're just going to copy this. This should be like 16 regular. Alright, so we are now going to quickly work on the blog. So for this, I'm just going to use the color we allocated for this. And then I'm just going to add like a little rectangle here. And this is going to be S12 top and bottom. And this is going to be top. And I'm going to select this and change this to fill. And I'm going to give it a corner radius of 12. Hopefully it looks good. So I'm going to reduce the padding to like 8. Alright, so since we have this, I might just reduce this to like 200. And then, so I'm just going to come here, select this and paste. So this is going to be hog. And this is going to be, let me change this to 12. Alright, let's go back here. I think we need to rename these cards. This is features, so I'm going to change this to starter, and this is going to be growth, and this is going to be pro, and this is going to be pricing cards. This will be header. Alright, so let's do the same for here. This is like header. This is Figma, and also for this, I'm just going to change this to, I'm just going to leave this at maybe 16 or something. And then no need for this. This is just going to be this and few. So it's going to be on one line, and I'm just going to leave this at 16. Or I'm just going to leave this at 20. Let me impute this. So this should be like 24. 24 looks too much. I think 18 looks better. So there's something I want to do for this, but let me finish what I'm doing first. Alright, so I'm going to have this here. And finally, I'm going to add learn more. So I'm going to remove the bullet points, and I'm also going to remove the bullet points, and I'm going to also select this and this, change this to this, and then change this to, so we're going to leave this at, let's change this to 16 and change it to regular. So for this, I'm going to add like I'm going to add like an underline under it. So I'm going to select this, and select this, and I'm going to add auto layout to it. And then to just be like 8 or something. I think it looks okay. So then this entire frame, I'm going to add like side padding of like 8. And then this is just going to be like 20. We'll see how that looks. So I'm going to add auto layout to this. This might just be like 12. And then this remains 8. Or this can even reduce to 4. So I'm going to reduce this to 14. I think this looks better now. So I'm going to change this to hog, the height to hog. But for the bottom, I'm going to change this to like 16. But let's keep it at 24. Yep. So I'm going to select this, and select this piece to replace. So I'm going to rename blog 1, copy. So this will be image, and this will be title and subtext. So this will be subtext. Since we have worked on this one, I'm just going to copy this one, select this and paste to replace. And then I'm going to change this to like 2 and change this to 3. Alright, the only thing left now is to update the details. So this is 20 bold, so I'm just going to maintain that. And this is 14 regular. So I'm coming back to work on that. So I'm going to select this. This is 20. And this is 14 regular. So finally, we'll have like a button that says visit our blog, which will be down here. So that button, I'm just going to copy one of this button and duplicate, paste to replace. But this will not be filled. This will be like hog. And I'm going to change it to visit our blog. So now that we have this, I'm just going to quickly add images to all of this. Let's make sure this is following our grid line. Okay, it is. So I'm just going to remove the grid line now. Alright, so I'm just going to use Unsplash. So we're going to use Unsplash to add images to this. So the first image, we're just going to search for AI. what, let's make use of this. Then for this, let me search for theme. So I'm looking for an image that we've not used before. Okay, let's use this. And let me see if I will see images that we could use for this. Let's see if this works. Let me see how this looks. Alright, I don't think this looks bad, so we might as well just proceed. So now that we are done with this, we'll just quickly go over to frequently asked questions. So this is blog / insights. Alright, so we are done with this. So far, so good. This is what we've been able to do. So the next thing is I'm going to duplicate this so that we can work on the next, which is our frequently asked questions. So for frequently asked questions, I'm just going to change this to FAQs. And then I'm just going to go over here and select this entire thing. So we are drawing close to the end of all this. It's been like a long ride for each and every one of us, or both of us if we're the only ones actually watching this. All right, so just like we normally do, I'm just going to you know what, I'm going to paste to replace this info here so we can just edit the frequently asked questions up here. And this, and for this, I'm just going to change it to like 16, and we're going to change it to like regular. All right, so now that we have this, the next part is to now create the little, question, card. All right, so what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to change this to fill, and then change the fill for this to the frequently asked question and this, and add like our outline to it, and change it to outside, and change it to like 12. Let me see if that works. All right, so the next thing is to add like the text for our all right, so I'm just going to select this and I'm going to remove this. So we're going to add auto layout to this and then push it to the side, and then this should just be like 24 both sides. So one thing, I'm going to add like a plus icon here. So this icon is just going to I don't know if 40 works, but I'm just going to use 40. And then change the corner radius to like 100. And then I'm going to change this to auto. Yeah, so this is what I want. So right now I need like a plus, icon here. But before that, let's quickly work on this. This is 26. I want this to be 12 and 24 looks okay. Let's see how it looks. So this is the first question. All right, so since this is the first question, I'm going to go over to our icons, and then I'm going to duplicate this and push this down here. And then I'm going to come over here and add. So we're going to add the plus icon. So I'm going to close this and then make this a component. And then copy it and go over here and add it here. So I'm just going to select this and paste it inside of here and change the color to white. Alright, so now that we have this, before we move forward, I'm going to bring this out because I want to make it a component. So I'm going to put it FAQ. So now that we have this, there are two states. There's a state where it's closed and there's a state where it's opened. So I think we are going to prototype that. So this is already getting too long, so I'm just going to quickly work on that. So I'm just going to open this up and then push this to the top. And then I'm going to add like our line. So I'm going to cut this. So this and this, they're going to be 1. So I'm going to add this, center it properly, and then make sure they are still on auto. And then I'm going to select this and paste this. But this is going to be fill. Okay, I think there's a problem here. So for this, since we already have this, we're just going to change this to vertical layout. So I'm going to push this to the top. Yeah, this should remain at the top. Then I'm going to paste this now. So this is the time to paste it now. So I'm going to change this to fill. And the gap should also be 12. So it will be consistent. And then finally, I'm going to copy this and then duplicate this and paste to replace. So I copied this, I copied the text. That's why you see when I did paste to replace, this text was now visible. So I'm going to change this to fill and push it down. And then this reply. So I'm going to change this to like 16, and we're going to change this to like regular. But you know what, let's just change all of this to like 16, then the gap between them to 16. Then I'm going to select this and change this to hog. Alright, so now that we have this, we're going to change this to gray color. And then this should be our outline. So we're going to change this to white color. So this is going to be white. So this is the first part. So the first part, we're going to make this component and then add variants. So I'm just going to turn this off. Alright, so now that I've turned this off, I'm just going to select it and change the color to our FAQ and block color. So now we're going to now select this and change this to Boolean. So this is going to be true, and this is going to be false. And when it's true, this rotates. You know what? Let me remove this. Let me detach this instance so I can add a little manipulation here. So this is going to be 90. Yeah. So when someone clicks on this content, we'll go to prototype. When someone clicks on this content, it goes to this. And when someone clicks on this, it goes to this. But this time around, we're going to make it smart animate. Same for this. So I'm going to select this and paste to replace now that we've made it a component. So if I click on this, let me see if it will work. So if I click on this, it should open. If I click on this, it should close. So that's the whole essence of doing that. All right, so now we are done with that, we can now, so I'm just going to select this so that we can be able to change the text inside of this. So I'm just going to change this. Edit question. Yeah. So for this now, I'm going to duplicate this, select this and add auto layout to it and change this to 12. 12, or I think 16. Let's see if 16 works. All right. So we have like how many questions? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to have 4 of these. So these are frequently asked questions. I'm just going to push it to the top where we have every other component. So we're just going to have one opened, which is this. So the first one, we already have the first one, which is this. So I'm just going to select this and change the content for this. And change the content for this. And finally, change the contents for this. So I'm just going to delete this because we don't need it anymore. So now if we go over here, so this is what we have for our frequently asked questions. So for the frequently asked question, probably we can just expand this so that we have like more breathing space to have everything. So I'm just going to change this to fill. Yeah. And let's see if 40 works. So I'm just going to change this to FAQ. And this is like the header. And these are the questions. Right, so since we have this, so this is basically what we have. Although they are the same content, we don't have to add all the content because for the purpose of this tutorial, because it's already long and we have already spent a lot of time working on this. Probably we'll have another video for the responsive side, for the mobile responsiveness. All right, so we are done with this now. I'm just going to duplicate this for the next part. So for the next part, I don't think we need all of this. I'm just going to delete it. Then we're just going to have like a full. We're going to change it to fill. That should be like a banner that we have there. Yeah, so this particular banner, we're just going to add our gradient 1, then with like 24 corner radius. Let's make sure we're on point. And then we're going to add our header. So for that, let me just bring in the content here so that we don't have to keep going and coming back to this place. All right, so I'm just going to go over here now and duplicate, paste to replace so that I can be seeing the content. Although we will now need this. Let me copy this and this. Let me select both of this. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this. So add the S first since I didn't copy it. Alright, so this is now going to be this way. And then we're going to change. I'm going to copy this and move out. The paste to replace. Then select this and change this to 40, just like we have for other header. And then I'm going to reduce this. So this is also going to be fill. And then we need like 2 buttons. So this is what I'm just going to copy from here. And paste it. So now we're just going to add auto layout to this and then change the layout to side by side and center it properly and then add auto to the middle. So I think we'll have like 120 and then top and bottom probably like 120 also as well. But let's just make it 80 and then sides also 80. Let me see how that looks. No, but it looks quite good. So I'm just going to add a little outline to it. So start free and watch them. Okay, I think that's what's there. So now that we've gotten this far, I'm just going to rename this part. Closing section. I think that's what the name is. Closing banner. And then we're going to call this banner. And this like header, this like buttons. Alright, so now that we are done with this, the next part is the footer. So for the footer, I'm just going to do the same duplicate, but I'm going to change this finally to footer. So we are going to organize the file shortly, but let me quickly work on the footer. So for the footer, I'm just going to come over here and copy everything that we need, just like we've always done. So I'm going to duplicate this paste to replace so that we can see everything that we're going to be using for the footer. So for this, we're going to use the logo, and then I'm just going to come over here. I'm just going to copy this and copy this. Copy it, come down here. And paste to replace. So now that I've pasted to replace, I'm going to add auto layout to this and now change the layout to this and change this to fill. And then we're going to change this to auto and then center it properly. So this is what we have. This is the first part. Then we're going to have like a little outline. And I'm going to cut it and select this and paste. Push it up. And then I'm going to fill the whole container and change it to our outline. And then finally, we'll have like the copyright and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to duplicate this. So we need like 3 logos here. So I'm going to go over to asset and search for YouTube. So this is it. We're going to control copy this. I'm going to select this and paste it here. Then the next one is X. Let me search Twitter and see. Well, you know what? Let's change this to Instagram. So I'm going to select this and paste to replace. And finally, we might just add like LinkedIn. So I'm going to select it. And finally, I'm going to paste to replace. So we don't need both of this. And then this. So this is going to be our text color, and this is going to be regular. And this, I'm going to hit K to reduce this to like 24 or something. Let's make sure that it's still visible there. So now that we're done with this, I don't think we need this, so I'm just going to delete this. So this is basically what I was trying to create. And we'll make sure that everything is on the same line. Anything should come first. And this should go last. So let's try reducing both of these to 20. Maybe they will be like on the same line with the YouTube. Alright, so let's see the gap. Let's keep it at 16 and see. Alright, so now that we have this, I think we've done the footer. The footer is ready. So this is footer. And this is logo, and nav links. Of course, is divider. And then this is like, social links. So now we've finally come to the end of this. So I'm just going to select this, select this, select this, select this, select. So I'm going to add all of this into one and name this main. So we now have footer. So this was what I was telling you about the web being divided into 3. So finally, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it inside of this. But for this now, for this is not going to look like this. This is going to be an absolute position. Why I'm making it an absolute position, I'm going to show you very soon. So the reason why I'm making it an absolute position because I wanted to scroll with this particular page right now. So what I'll just do is I'll select it after making it absolute position. Then I'll go over here and change this to fixed, stay in place. So now you see if I'm scrolling, it stays at the top. If I'm scrolling, it stays at the top. But I want to actually give it like this blurry feel. So I'm going to come over here and set this. So I'm going to set this to, it should go to effect and change this to background blur. And then change this to maybe like 16. And then reduce this to probably 60. Yep. And then I'm going to change this to the light blue color of this particular hero section. So the light blue color, the code for the light blue color is E3ECFB. Oh no, this is not where I'm supposed to add the color. I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to edit this. So this is where I'm going to come and add the color. That's the main component. That's what I'm supposed to edit, and change this to 60. So now this is how it looks. You can see the way it's transparent. Alright, so you see what we've built so far. You see how neat and how clean it looks. So you see how neat and how clean it looks. For this outline, I'm just going to go to the main component and add like a white fill to it. So I'm just going to add like a white fill to it, and then go back to instance. Alright, I think this looks better now. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So see you in my next tutorial.